What's up, guys? I am so excited to be here. We have the most amazing live training planned. I am bringing on Brooke Lawson from Filament Branding in a second. If you're joining in live, say hi. Let me know where you're tuning in from. I can see Mandy. I have my thingy on the side, so I'm kind of tilting my head to see your comments. So that's why I don't have like an issue with my neck. I'm super excited to bring her on in a second. Just before though, I wanted to mention there's 4 hours left for you to apply to the 6-month scholarship to Dream Creator Society. We've had some amazing videos and applications. I'm going to be announcing the winner tomorrow at 5:30 p.m. EST here on Instagram and inside the Facebook group. So if you want to apply, there's still a few hours left. And that's it. No more talk about that. All talk about branding, web design. I'm going to bring on Brooke. Brookie, if you can raise your hand. Oh, I should be able to. Sorry, guys. I'll just quickly tilt this. Oh, there she is. Cool. I'll give you guys a quick intro while Brooke signs in. Brooke is a branding coach. She's gonna, hi, there she is. Thank you so much, Brooke, for tuning in and for doing this amazing training with me for my audience today. I so appreciate it. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm excited to be here.
I'm excited to have you here. So I just kind of introduced you, but maybe it's better you give your own introduction because you probably are much better at that than me.
I don't know, maybe not. So, my name is Brooke Lawson. I'm a brand strategist and I work with service-based entrepreneurs to create brands that show their personality and attract their ideal clients that they actually want to work with. So I do like coaching and strategy for the brand, and then also the design on the other side of it too. So
yeah, and I've kind of been talking you up a little bit. If anyone wants to check out Brooke's website, it's gofilament.com. Brooke is absolutely amazing. I have like the biggest crush on her website. So
thank you.
Yeah, I totally mean that. I know a lot of people in my audience are just getting started building their own website, or aren't quite ready yet. So I think this training is going to be super valuable for anyone really who's just starting out, who's creating their own website. Also people who might already have their own website. Like my website is a never-ending work in progress. I always know there's things I could do better. And so I'm really grateful to have you here to answer questions. We're going to do a little Q&A in the end, if that's all right. Yeah. So if people have questions, then definitely feel free to save them till the end. And let's get started.
Okay, cool.
Cool. So I think let's start with like the real basics first. Yeah. What's the end goal of a website? Like, why should I have a website in the first place?
Okay, so the basic goal is to kind of serve as your home base for your entire brand. So everything should ultimately funnel back to the website. So the main thing you want to focus on the website is to have some kind of action that you want them to do. So usually that's something like joining an email list, or downloading something to get them into your world. So that's like the ultimate goal, is to just kind of let them get to know you as fast as possible. They can like learn about you. So you want to like showcase your personality a little bit, but you just you want to make sure it's not just like an online version of a brochure or something. Like you want to actually like have some kind of good content, because that's the real goal, is for them to get to know you as fast as possible, and they can decide if they want to work with you or not.
Right. And then I guess it depends on your business, right? Whether you have something to sell, whether you're just right now capturing those subscribers, whether you only have a blog and you only have value to give right now and you don't even have anything to sell.
Yeah. So I think I think it's a good point. It's still valuable to create a website and still to try to collect those emails, even if you're not selling anything, because you might want to someday, but even if you don't, it just brings, it brings them closer to your brand and lets them get to know you a little bit better. And then if you're selling, like I said earlier, so sorry, I should have, talked about that more at the beginning. I usually work with service-based businesses. So if you're selling products, it's still the same ultimate goal, though. You want them to do something. So you would want them to, buy something on your website. So you just want to set up the structure of the pages and everything in a way that funnels them towards the ultimate goal.
Right.
Just make it very clear what you want them to do.
Is there a right time to get a website?
I like that question because there's like a lot of debate online. I feel like that like a ton of people say you don't need a website at all, and then everybody else is like, oh, you need a website immediately. So I like to say you need some kind of online presence as soon as you start a business. So I like to say wait to do the website until you can afford to do it the right way. Like don't slack off on that. So if you're not quite there yet, if you can't, that doesn't mean you have to hire, like some super fancy designer or developer either, but you have to be able to dedicate either the time to learn how to do it the right way or the resources to pay somebody to do it the right way. And if you're not there yet, there are tons of other ways that you can, build your brand in the meantime, Facebook groups and doing things that way, or even just like a simple lead page, like a one-page thing that looks nice and sends the right message. Because I think that's kind of where the branding part comes in. If you just slap something up there that doesn't look right, it kind of detracts from your message and your reputation overall. But so does that answer the question? I guess wait until you can do it the right way.
I totally agree. And I mean, I've seen that before. People just have like a one page that says coming soon, something like that. And I think that's totally cool to just put something up there so you have that touch point. And then when you're ready.
And then just say something like, in the meantime, come hang out with me over here on Instagram or in this Facebook group or whatever it is that you're doing, or get them, to download something that you have ready. But just start the conversation, but don't.
We're definitely going to be talking a little bit more about like the importance of having an email list and growing an email list and like how to use your website for that. But I did have a couple of other questions before. Someone just popped in and said, what about Linktree pages? So Linktree is actually an app you can just use to direct people to different links inside your Instagram. So you just Google Linktree and then you can set it up that it doesn't actually live on your website. So we kind of touched on this before. Do I need a website in order to sell something?
No.
Or do I need to be selling something in order to have a website?
Definitely not. If you're going to sell like one-on-one services or things like that, you don't need a website. You would just need some way to take payments, and you can do that. There's PayPal, and every different service provider offers something that makes it easy to do that. But if you're going to sell products online, you probably do need a website.
Right.
Something that looks nice. So again, it depends on your goal, but and then you don't have to sell something to have a website either, like we talked about with the blogging. And if you're providing value and you're sharing a message, like it depends on your overall goal if it's right for you. But if you have a message that you want to get out, then a website is a great like home base for you to share that information, even if you're not selling anything.
Yeah, I guess that's how blogging really started. It was just people sharing their message and like helping people without actually selling anything, right? It's just about giving value. So are you guys ready to get a little bit more technical and talk about like different pages you need to have on a website? Give us some hearts if you're ready to dive into like the good stuff. We want to make sure that you're excited about that. Hey guys, if anyone's tuning in late, we're talking about easy tweaks you can make to your website to make it work harder for you. Give us a few more hearts if you're ready, because otherwise, yeah, awesome. Thank you guys.
I see you.
So, what are the most important pages that should go on a website?
Okay, so you need a contact page is probably the single most important thing. They have to have a way to find you. And that doesn't have to be anything elaborate. Just, it works best if you have some kind of form, you know, to fill out and not just a phone number. That way you can kind of filter if it's a request
right.
or not. And then an about me page. So do you want me to go into like what's important to be on each page, or do you want to talk like just give an overview and dig deeper? Or
definitely, I think whichever way you want to do it. I definitely think it's the next question would be like what should go on each one of these pages. So you just roll.
Okay, cool. So the about page is statistically the number one page that people click on when they go to a website. So it is really important, but I think it's also the one that's the hardest to get right. One, because it's just really hard to talk about yourself. I feel like it's really hard to, you know, encapsulate what you do into one page. But the important thing with the about page is to not make it about yourself, which sounds kind of counterintuitive, but you want to make it about how you can serve them, like whoever your client or your customer or whatever you're doing. So a good example is one of my clients that I was just working with. She is a CPA, but so her about page, instead of just listing out her credentials and her certifications and yeah, I'm a CPA, it was more about like, what does a CPA do and how does this benefit you and why is it better than having just a bookkeeper or just a whatever. So that's the ultimate goal with that page is, yeah, you want to show your personality and you want to like get, you know, details about yourself, but really make it about them. And the same with all the pages on your website, but specifically the about page.
Okay. So talk about the benefits of what people will get out of following you, like working with you. Okay, cool.
So then you need a homepage, obviously. So the first place people land, and this kind of goes back to what we were talking about a few minutes ago too. Whatever your ultimate goal of your whole website is, which before you ever build a website in the first place, you should have like a clear goal of what you want them to do, whether it's, you know, sign up to work with you or buy a product or join your list or whatever it is. The homepage works best if you're kind of funneling them down to one specific action item. So a lot of times we try to like cram every single thing we can on a homepage and like, oh, go to my services, go here and buy this, but I think it's overwhelming and confusing. So.
Oh, I'm so guilty of that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, well, like it's not to say that that's necessarily a terrible thing. Like it's not the end of the world if you have a lot of stuff on there. But if you do want to put, you know, links to different blog posts or stuff like that, just don't make them like the focal point of the page. Whatever the main thing you want them to do needs to go there. So like if you looked at my homepage, it kind of like tells a little story about, you know, what exactly I do and what you get out of it, and funnels down straight to the work with me page, because that's where I really want that, is the one-on-one service. So if it's a product or, you know, a group of products, I feel most people that sell products don't just sell one thing.
Yeah.
So, you know, whatever, like if you're having a special on something or you're doing something specific, you can just set it up in a way so that it's easy for you to change if you change it often. But the homepage is really that one thing that you want them to do, whatever it is.
Okay. Oh, I'm definitely already thinking about how I'm going to change my homepage, because I guess then it's really up to you to decide, okay, what is my main focus right now? And then you can always change that, right? And that's the cool thing about having a website. That's like my problem, because then I like go in there and I want to change everything. So
yeah, you can just test things out and try it out. If it doesn't work, then put it back. Or that's the cool thing too. You can't really mess anything up. Like you're not really gonna destroy your whole business by moving things around on your website. So you can play with it and figure out what works for you. So like another example for that, like right now I have mine going to my homepage funnels to my work with me page, but I have this really cool quiz that you and I have talked about before. With, especially if you're selling like high level one-on-one services, like something really expensive, maybe it's not a good idea always to funnel them straight there. Like maybe you need to build that relationship with them a little bit more. So you would funnel them on your homepage to like your opt-in, your lead magnet or whatever, and get them on your email list. And that's step one, so that you can kind of build that relationship. But then if you're offering something that's, you know, a couple $100, it's not as big of a deal. Absolutely, you can go straight there. It depends. Everything depends on your goals. What do you want? Right. What do you want to get out of it?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, because people need to get to know. It's kind of like, I always like using the dating example. If you go on a first date and then they ask you to marry you, you're like, oh my God, no, thank you. So you have to really build that relationship. So to sum up, we've got the most important pages, your homepage that really leads into what you like, what action you want people to take next, what your end goal is, your about page that is about you in some way, but it's really about showcasing how you can help your ideal client.
Yep.
Then we have a contact page for people to get in touch. Don't put your phone number on there, because you'll get some like weird random phone calls. Obviously, if you're selling something, you would have that page as well, like a work with me, or, you know, your courses or products. Anything else?
I think the work with me page, or the whatever you're selling, is obviously very important. You need to have that on there too. So and it differs completely if you're doing, you know, one-on-one services or products. So if you're doing products, it would be more like a link to a store. I would say just with those pages, just make everything as clear and as simple as possible. Like I like to design web pages with the idea that everyone has no idea what I do or why I do it, and just make everything like a 5-year-old could figure it out. Like, this is exactly where it's going with, if you have a lot of information. And then if you're selling services, one-on-one services or courses or anything like that, the same thing, you want to make it very clear. But anytime you can break things up into smaller categories and group things together logically, that makes it easier for people to understand too. So I just, and again, it's up to you, and it depends on your goals. Like what I've found works really well for like one-on-one services and sales pages is if you kind of treat it like it's a journey for the customer or the client, you know, like, you know, start with, you know, what the problem is and how you're going to solve it, and, you know, why they need it. Kind of tell a story that way. And then at the bottom of the page, say, these are all the ways that I solve that problem. Like, you can work with me one-on-one, or you can work with me in a group, or do it yourself in a course. But that way, they're kind of getting the whole idea of what it is you do and why you do it before they're being asked to make a decision on how they want to work with you, and they're not even sold on if they want to work with you yet.
Right.
So just kind of tell the story first, and then break it down into the different ways, and then again, make it as simple as possible. Don't overwhelm people with options.
Yeah, I think because sometimes it's so difficult, because we're so like stuck in our own little world, and we're like, well, everybody knows what I'm talking about, and like, no, they really don't. So you have to, and I guess, what's your take on getting people that don't know much about what you do to just kind of have a look at your website to get feedback, and like, is this clear? Does it, like, do you know what I talk about? Do you know what I offer? Is that a good idea?
Yeah, definitely. So that's the first thing I always start with on any project is first of all, figure out who your ideal client is, because those questions are amazing and you should be asking them. You just want to make sure you're asking the right people.
Right.
So like going and asking, you know, your husband or your grandma, if it makes sense to them, that doesn't really matter if it makes sense to them. So first, you know, figure out who that ideal client is, who you actually want to work with, and then go talk to them and have them look at it and give feedback on if it makes sense. But yes, that's a great thing to do.
Totally unrelated. I was so excited to tell my grandma that I had my website. She was like, "What's a website?"
Yes.
Didn't get it at all. Just a quick question. Do you think Instagram marketing helps gain one-on-one clients? Interesting question. Do you want to answer that, Brooke?
Yeah, sure. And then you can kind of follow up. You're the Instagram expert here, but definitely.
Yeah.
I think it all comes down to how you present yourself on Instagram. Like we haven't really talked about this yet either in terms of the website brand. I feel like branding is confusing to a lot of people. People don't really get what it is. So if I can just give kind of my definition of what it is, I think that it might help a little bit. So like your business is your actual transactional services, you know, whatever you do or sell. And then your brand is literally everything else. The experience that the people have when they interact with you, you know, the tone of voice that you use in your emails, your follow-up after you sell them something. Obviously the website and the design and all the colors are important too, but that's like the tiny little cherry on top. So kind of the whole experience and the feeling that they have when they come in contact with your brand or with your business. That's kind of what your brand is. So when we talk about things like Instagram and, you know, Pinterest and social media accounts and stuff like that, it can absolutely help you sell one-on-one services. Stuff like you're doing right now where you're doing trainings and providing value, and how you keep yours all pretty on your Instagram with all the stuff that matches. It has a cohesive look and feel. It just makes it seem like, yeah, your stuff's put together, you know what you're doing, you're an expert. But it can also do the exact opposite if you're not.
Right.
If you're not. So you might be a rock star at what you do, but you're just kind of slapping stuff up over here on Instagram or social media, any social media account really, and they're just like, that doesn't look very good. So
yeah,
on one side, the design and the brand, like the design part of the branding is not that important, you know, when it comes to figuring out what you want to do, but it is still important in that it can detract from your message. So
totally.
It can totally ruin your reputation really quick. So what I like to suggest is focus on, you know, a couple platforms that you can really be good at, instead of, like, I see a lot of websites, like they'll get a nice WordPress or Squarespace template and put everything up there and link to like 15 different social media accounts across the top bar or the bottom. And then you click on one and there's not really anything there. It's just stuff thrown up there. Like, it's quality over quantity.
Totally.
Social media. So just, Instagram can absolutely get you one-on-one clients all day long if you do it the right way.
Yeah, I think like the way I see social media is really just, if I always say, if you're looking at it like as if it was a funnel, it's really just the beginning of the funnel. Like, this is how you can put yourself in front of your ideal client, how you can, you know, say hello, build a relationship in a non-creepy way. And then it's all about funneling these Instagram followers to your email list and, you know, nurturing these relationships. Because yes, obviously I started my business on Instagram, but it's not sustainable to just build your business on social media. Right. It really is all about that email list, because it's the only thing you own, right? Like, Instagram can change the algorithm again tomorrow, and then you just have no control. You can lose all of your followers. Anything can happen, and then you have nothing. So I think a lot of entrepreneurs always say the one thing they regret is that they didn't start their email list sooner. In the beginning, I was like, what's an email list? Like, what kind of list are these people talking about? Like, my to-do list, my shopping list? I don't know. And so I think maybe it's time we can talk a little bit about, you know, how to use your website to get people on your list, through things like opt-ins. I don't know, you guys, give us some hearts, give us some thumbs up if you're ready to talk about opt-ins. If you're like, what exactly is an opt-in? Maybe Brooke, you want to explain just in real basic terms, what are we talking about here?
Yeah, so an opt-in is basically a bribe. So it's like I will give you something if you give me your email address. So I think we've passed the days where it's okay to just say, here, join my newsletter, and expect anybody to actually do it. So an opt-in is something that you offer them in exchange for their interest. So in terms of, building your brand, it's something that you really want to put a lot of effort into and not kind of like don't cheap out on it. Like put something really, really valuable and really good content, because in essence that's really their first impression of you and what you have to offer. So you want to really wow them. Like you said, it's like a funnel. So they're starting up, they're getting, they see you on social media, they go to the next level, and they're like, okay, I'll download this thing, whatever it is, or I'll take this quiz or do whatever. That's really that's where you get to show them what you're made of. And that's where you get to really try to impress them. So if you just, slap something up on your website, it's like, here, join my newsletter, you're missing that whole opportunity, first of all, to build that relationship. But you really get to show your value, and it's a really cool way for people to get to know you really quickly and get to know kind of your story and what makes you different from everyone else, which is really the point of branding, is, how to stand out from everyone else. It just makes it much easier to do that way.
Yeah, and I think, giving someone my email address, like I follow, thousands of people on Instagram, but I'm on like maybe 4 email lists. So giving you my email address is like a big deal. So yeah, I'm not just going to give you my email address to sign up to your newsletter to see what like you write about in your newsletter. Like, you better make that something awesome for me to give you my email address.
Yes, absolutely.
So let's talk about some do's and don'ts when it comes to, getting people onto your list from your website. Like, I don't know, do you want to just go?
Yeah. So do you mean like with the actual emailing people, or the website part where like pop-ups?
I think, like pop-ups, because that's, some people say pop-ups work. I find them kind of, I don't use them. I don't know. What's your take on pop-ups?
I don't like them. They annoy me, but they do. I mean, statistically, they do work. So maybe we're just weird and we hate them, but they do work. I don't use them. Like I said, I think it's more effective to naturally kind of like guide the conversation where you want it to go on your website. So if you really want them to join whatever it is, your list, for download whatever, take a quiz, or make that homepage the focus of that, I think that's much more effective than having something jump up in someone's face. Hey, do this. You want to convince them why they want it, and make the decision be theirs, and it feels much more natural. So if it's something like, I think pop-ups can be effective if it's not for an opt-in. Like if you're doing like a live training or something, like, hey, I'm doing this tonight, and you keep it up that way. It's more work on the back end to do things like that. Obviously, you have to maintain it. But I think it's effective for things like that, where when it pops up, the person's like, oh, that's something that's really cool and valuable. And it's not like, oh, they're asking me for something again.
Right.
Just giving more information. I think it can be effective. I still get annoyed, but I think if you want something like that, like the bars at the top, or something that comes in, the slide in at the bottom thing is less intrusive. It doesn't like yell in your face to do something. But I think it works better, definitely, to kind of guide the conversation where you want to go. And opt-ins are really, really great within blog posts too, which we haven't really talked about. Like, some people call them content upgrades. Basically, it's just it's an opt-in constantly else into whatever that blog post is about. So when you put it, in that blog post, it has to do with whatever you're talking about. Again, it's much more natural than just, hey, sign up for this, you need this. When in reality, they don't know that they need it yet.
Or like, what I hate is when you go to a website for the first time and you instantly get that pop-up in your face. You're like, I don't even know like anything about you. Like, I'm out of there, because I think that's so annoying. And then like they try and hide the exit thing, and you're like, how do I, like, I don't want this. How do I feel like that's bad practice. I don't know.
I agree.
What do you think?
No, I definitely, if you're going to have a pop-up, don't hide the X for sure.
Yeah.
That's terrible. But yeah, you'll get people that hate you immediately. So again, and that's a good point too, though. If you are going to use a pop-up, like I said, in certain instances, it's okay. But if you are going to use it, one, don't hide the X, and then also give it time so they have time to figure out whatever they're doing. Like if they clicked on a link, you know, if they clicked on a pin on Pinterest, or if they clicked on a link from Instagram to go to a blog post or something, give them time to like read through whatever it is you want them to read through before something pops up in their face. So
totally.
Yeah.
And you can do that like based on like how far they've scrolled down, or like how many seconds they've spent on your website, right?
Yeah.
What would be kind of guidelines?
If you can do it by how far they scroll down, you know, the better systems let you do that. The more basic, like the versions of stuff, it's based on seconds. So if you can do it scrolling down, I think it just depends on whatever your content is, you know, wherever you feel like they've gotten, you know, they should have gotten the message by now. Then do it based on the scrolling. If it's a time thing, I would just, you know, read through it yourself and see how long it takes you to read through it, and maybe, you know, ask a friend to read and see it, you know, how many seconds it takes them wherever you want them to be. But
I actually started using sliders, and I found they work pretty well. I think I have it set up so that it's like after maybe 40% scrolling, they see it. So they have time to like see the value in like what I do, those kind of things.
I think that's the main thing that people forget when they're building their websites, not just with pop-ups, but websites in general, that it's an actual human looking at the website. That's the goal. Like, just think about how you would want to be treated when you go to a website, and that just makes it so much easier, like, to wrap your head around. It doesn't really matter. Like, I don't like to think of it as what you're supposed to do, or what, you know, whoever says has to be on your website. Think about who your ideal client is, and you should know your ideal client well enough to know what type of things that they like and they don't like.
Totally. And I think that's always the key. You always should be thinking about your ideal client or your ideal subscriber, whatever it is, and really create content, anything you're creating with them in mind and for them. So, okay, I like that you brought that up. How many opt-ins should you have per page? And like, should you have different opt-ins on a page, or you know how some people have the sidebar and then there's like all these different things? What's the pro thing to do?
So again, I think it depends on your goals, but just a general rule, I like to say never more than 2. Most of the time I say 1. The exception would be something like that, where you have something that's always there, like in a sidebar, or like a main opt-in that's like something that would apply to everybody. Like that course that I have is like a main thing. It's always there. But then if it's something that is related to like a blog post, or then only put it on that page. Don't have that pop up on every page. Right. So, okay. Definitely not more than 2. But again, remember the goal is we want them to do one thing. People are so easily distracted. So only giving one option is definitely the best way to go. But there are some instances where if it's something that applies to everybody, you can leave it. Just don't make like 2 different things pop up, or, you know, one pop up and slide out. Or if you're going to have to make one just like static, make it just stay there and they can click it if they want. Okay. But don't overwhelm people.
I think, people have such a short attention span as well. So if you're giving them too many options and too many things, they get confused. And then when they're confused, they just end up leaving, and like not in a good way.
Not doing anything.
We want to avoid that. So is it okay to promote the same opt-in like at various points in one page? So I might have in a blog post, you know, if I have a content upgrade, to put it in there more than once, or is that annoying, or is that good practice?
I think it's okay as long as it logically makes sense. Like if you finish a paragraph talking about it and then you put it there, and then at the end you're like, oh yeah, don't forget to do this. I mean, don't just put it in there.
Yeah, every paragraph.
Part of it is like part of it's common sense, but
yeah,
I think it's definitely okay to have it more than once. Or even if you get to the they get to the bottom of the page and they're about to leave, like one of the exit intent pop-in.
Yeah,
Pop-ups,
I like
they're
those.
about to leave and say, hey, don't forget to do this. I think those are okay as long as they're used, like I said, in common sense.
Yeah, I
actually
actually like those. And like I find when I get them, when I'm, the user, I tend to pay attention to them a lot more than if it was just the first pop-up in my face.
Yeah.
Okay. Just checking my questions so I don't forget to ask you anything I had on my list. I think one thing I'd like to talk about as well, and then we'll definitely open up for Q&A. So this is the last question I have on my list. So if you guys have any questions, you can start typing them in. I think one page people tend to just ignore or not take advantage of is the thank you page.
Oh, cool. Okay.
So I actually have, when someone opts into my freebie or whatever I have to offer, I have started to put up a thank you page, and I actually have lots of different thank you pages by now. One that, invites them to join my Facebook group, one that maybe has a special offer for them, to get a discount on a certain product, one that's just like a welcome, there's an email on its way to you, something like that. Anything you want to add about thank you pages?
Yeah, they're amazing. Like that, it's such a great opportunity to build, continue building that relationship. So I think definitely if you have different opt-ins, create different thank you pages for them. If it's just like a generic joining your list to get, one specific freebie or something, just make it specific to whatever you're talking about, so it doesn't feel like a mass, thing. Like I think like it always makes me laugh when I like sign up for something and I'm like actually excited about it, like, oh, this is something cool, and then it's just like, thank you, your email has been submitted. You should receive this within 24 hours or something. Like redirect it to a page. Absolutely, redirect it to a thank you page. And I like to do that. I don't know. I don't think I've seen any of yours actually, but I like to do them where they're like landing pages where you don't have the navigation bar at the top. Again, it's like one focus. It's like, thank you. If you can have a video on there, that's even better. But, hey, thank you so much. This is how you can get the best, get the most out of whatever it was you just downloaded. Because again, the goal of these opt-ins in general is for them to get to know who you are and decide if they want to work with you or buy something from you. So I think videos are great for that. And then, like you said, upselling stuff too. Like if as long as it's related to whatever the first thing was. So don't like put a course about Instagram if they just opted into something about, sales funnels or something. Like as long as it's related, I think it's awesome. I think you're right. They're very underutilized and a really, really good way to just make a good impression. You said this whole opt-in funnel is their first impression of you usually. So the more value you can put in there, the better.
Make it count. Totally. Okay, cool. I'm doing something right. I'm excited about that. I have some work to do on my webpage. If anyone has a question, this would be the time to ask. Take advantage of Brooke. She's amazing. I'm gonna, her website, I'm gonna type it in a second, is gofilament.com if you want to check it out. We kind of mentioned your awesome quiz a couple of times. Do you want to tell everyone a little bit more about what it is while I type this in?
Yeah, sure. So I do, when I work with one-on-one clients for branding, we use they're called archetypes. So they're a common thing in psychology. They've been around since forever. It's based on Carl Jung, the famous psychologist from the 40s, is where they originated. So what we do is we just take these, there are 12 basic archetypes to categorize human behavior and personality, basically, and apply them to your brand so that it's easier for people to figure out what you're about and make a connection with you faster. So I have a quiz that's a free quiz on my website to figure out which one of these categories you fit into. And of course, we're all humans here, so nobody fits into one box like perfectly, obviously. But when I work with people one-on-one, we actually figure out the top 3 archetypes that you have, so you can really create, a full cohesive brand. But the quiz is just a really good starting point to kind of figure out how to personify an emotion. Basically, it is essentially what it's doing. You want people to feel a certain way and think a certain thing about you, and the actual words on a web page it's really hard to get that.
Yeah.
So
totally.
The archetypes are a great starting point to help you do that. Kind of figure out, what you're about, and, pros and cons of different personality types. Like my archetype is the creator. So obviously I'm creative, but like it also gives like the downside of that. So like perfectionism is a big problem with the creator archetype. Like I have struggled with that forever. Like I can't put anything out in the world until it's absolutely perfect, and it totally like throws me off track on everything. So it's really cool to see both sides, I feel like. So it's something you can be consciously aware of and try to work towards, overcoming those things. And then also, of course, it's my opt-in also. If you want to give me your email, you totally can.
That's the bribe.
Yep, your bribe. You get a PDF that goes into even more detail about how to actually use the archetype in the design part of your branding, and like how to write copy with your brand voice based on your archetype. So it's pretty cool. It's really fun. So
I took it. I think I was the magician. I love taking it. It's just like everybody loves a quiz. So they can just find that on your website, gofilament.com.
It's just right at the top menu bar. It says, it doesn't pop up at you. So there's no pop up. But it's a big button right in the menu bar. It says like become a client magnet, and then it'll pop up if you click on that and tell you.
Awesome. So
it's really
if that's
fun.
something you guys are into and want to find out what archetype you are, then definitely check that out. We do have one question here saying, what's the time frame between first offer and second more expensive offer? Ooh, good question.
Yeah. So like, and if you can like clarify it a little bit further, that would be helpful. But I think what you're asking is like, after they opt in and you try to offer them something, like how long do you wait until you offer them again? I'm assuming via email, like your email funnel goes out after. So as long as that's what you're asking, like standard practice is to have like 7 emails that go out after an opt-in. So, and part of that is like building a relationship. And then after a certain amount of time, you offer something else within reason. Like you don't want to give them something free and then try to sell them something for $10,000, obviously.
Right.
I think you bring it up on the sales page, or the thank you page that we talked about a minute ago. Kind of bring it up then, and always make everything time sensitive too. Like if you're going to give like a deal or a discount on something, only offer it for a certain amount of time. And that varies depending on what your goals are. But if it's like a discount on a course to get something for like, $15 instead of $40 or whatever it is, make that a lot shorter. But if you're, discounting like a higher level package, like I have a $500 intensive that I've done, like if you wanted, if you sign up for this within this week or by the end of the week, you get so much off. You can give it longer. Again, it depends on what your goals are, but definitely bring it up, like on the thank you page, and make sure it's in their mind. And then the point of those sales emails, though, the funnel emails, is to build that relationship. So you don't want to push it too hard. Like I would say the first couple emails, really just keep adding value and build that relationship. And then maybe, you know, the second or third one, put it in like a PS at the bottom, like, hey, don't forget about this over here. And then as you get, you know, further along, you know, you can bring it up. But I would say, And I think this is different for everybody too, like depending on what it is they've opted into. But I mean, you get an email immediately, and then usually the next day you get an email, and then maybe you skip a day, and then the one after that. And like I said, standard practice is 7 emails total, but that probably takes, you know, a week
more than 7 days. Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
hopefully that answered the question.
Yeah, I think so. Like sales funnels are like a whole, you know, we could do a whole day training about that, I think. So it's definitely complicated, and it's something that, you know, I have my online course, my Instagram course, and I'm constantly testing and tweaking my sales funnel, you know, and like until you really find that golden funnel, you have to keep trying different things, keep getting people like into that, pushing people into that funnel, and then see what works, change things around, and always test and tweak. Okay. If there's any other questions, type them in now before we go off. We do have something really, really exciting to share. So as you guys might know, tomorrow I'm launching Dream Creators Society, and the first 3 people, so I'm actually at 5:30 p.m. EST, I'm announcing the winner of the scholarship, and then straight after I'm opening the card for enrollment. And the first 3 people who sign up will get a one-on-one intensive session. It's 60 minutes, right, Brooke?
Yes,
with
ma'am.
Brooke, which is usually valued at, like, Brooke doesn't even offer one-off 1-hour sessions because she's so awesome. Her package is $5,000. So this 1 hour is valued at $275. It's really an amazing opportunity to get Brooke's eyes on your website, on your brand, and to like really take it to the next level. Like, I know you can do so much in 60 minutes. It's kind of crazy. So thank you so much for that offer, Brooke.
I'm so excited.
So that's happening tomorrow. Expect an email from me about that. Obviously, if you'd like to connect with Brooke, go to her website, gofilament.com. What other ways of like getting in touch with you do people have?
My email address is just Brooke with an E on the end at gofilament.com. That's probably the easiest way. Other than my website. And the quiz, the Archetypes quiz is like the most fun way to kind of get to know kind of what I do and what I'm about. So
awesome.
But I'm always available for email, or I have Carla would be ashamed of me. My Instagram needs work, so that's on my list.
That's okay. We'll get you there. Well, people can, I think, see, and what I'll do after we go off, I'll post an Instagram story where I'll directly link to the Archetype quiz and to your website, so people can just go straight to there. Mandy's saying, thanks so much. Helpful tips for this newbie blogger. Oh, so glad you enjoyed it, Mandy. Cool. So thank you so much, Brooke, for being here, for giving us your awesome insights and knowledge. I think this was super helpful. You guys, if you agree, if you like this session, give us some hearts, give us some thumbs ups. Thank Brooke. She did amazing. Thank you guys so much for being here as well, and for tuning in and for spending your Tuesday evening with us. And I guess if there's no further questions, I guess then that's it. Any final words of wisdom from you?
don't stress out about it. like I said, it's really hard to screw anything up with your website. You can test it and play with it and find things that work, but I think a lot of people just get really overwhelmed, and it's okay. Like just it's okay. That is my final word of wisdom, I guess.
Awesome. Maybe I think one final question, super quick. You're on WordPress, right? I'm on Squarespace. I love Squarespace. I know you love WordPress. Those are kind of the two big ones, right? People use these days, and they're both pretty awesome, I think. So whichever one people are on, it's just finding what works for you.
Yeah, I love both of them. I think unless you really know how to use WordPress to its full potential, like, or you're going to dedicate the time to learn, then Squarespace all the way. Squarespace is amazing. Like I said, I struggle with perfectionism again, and I want to control like every single little pixel and space in between everything. So WordPress is great for me because I have control over everything. If you're just starting out and you don't really know anything about what you're doing, then Squarespace is amazing. I love Squarespace too.
Okay, cool. Just a final remember. That was it. Thank you so much, Brooke. Amazing having you here. Have a great evening, and I'll chat to you soon.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.